The last section on your resume might be the most important. Hobbies and interests used to be something that people recommended on resumes years ago, and it is definitely making a comeback. Because of AI, so many resumes and cover letters are written almost exactly the same. Where people can really stand out is if their hobbies and interests either tie into the company or tie in with the hobbies and interests of somebody on the hiring team. In order to get an interview, the first page of your resume is the most important thing. The hobbies and interests section is at the end of your resume, and it should be a constant part of your social media, if that's a way that you'd like to get a job, and a constant part of your job search. So your hobbies and interests section should be relatable to at least 2 out of 3 people. Some of the hobbies and interests that make the biggest difference are participation in sports. If you were a student athlete, so you were on the varsity or participated even in the beer league at your university, like I did. My school didn't actually have a hockey team. Simon Fraser University didn't actually participate in hockey, but I played hockey at SFU. Having that interest of hockey is so relatable to tons of people. You should actually list it on your hobbies and interests section, especially if you're doing something like coaching. It might have been a hobby and interest in the past, but if you're coaching one of your children or you're involved, my wife is on the board of her field hockey team. Really having that hobby and interest section on your resume is so important because it gives them something relatable to talk to you about. People are hiring people. Definitely the experience somebody's had at a job, ticking all those boxes for the job post are important on a resume. But right at the end, instead of having a reference section, and recruiters have told me they're not interested in seeing references on a resume, having hobbies and interests that are relatable makes such a big difference. Some of my clients have done things like raise dogs for hunting. I've had a Labrador Golden Retriever cross, such a big part of my life for many years. Used to have a very dog-friendly office. Whatever your hobbies and interests are, I would include them on the bottom of the second page of your resume. Don't need to expand on them too much unless you're in a very good volunteer role and you're already employed in a job. I recommend people move volunteer roles into their current employment section at the start of their resume if they're unemployed. But if they're fully employed, any of that volunteer stuff can fall under the hobbies and interests at the end of your resume. You can also make it funny. I love surfing, but I'd be lucky to get on a wave a dozen times throughout the year. And most of the time I fall off. My son used to say, boom, smash was how he described my surfing. I'd be falling off the board so often. So just adding a little bit of humor. I drink salt water on the weekends. People were like, what is this about? And they might ask you about it. And you could put in brackets surfing so they know what it's about. But just adding a little spot for a little bit of humor under the hobbies and objectives section makes such a big difference. Include it in your resume and then also include it in your social media. I always recommend if you're looking for a job, you should be posting a couple of times a week, not about your specific job search, but about your career and your knowledge and your expertise on LinkedIn, on Facebook, on Instagram, and then include 1 or 2 personal things that might relate to workplaces, right? So if you've been like me, worked in a dog-friendly office, it makes such a big difference if people are like, oh, I love my dog. I wish he could be here in the office. If you're posting about that, keeps it top of mind, and then having it in the hobbies and interests section, it can be something that an interview panel can ask you about rather than like a gap in your resume or, why you didn't complete school, any number of things that keep you interesting because really we want to hire interesting people. Definitely resumes and certifications, experience are so important, but if we have to work with somebody 40 hours a week, go on projects together, working in different places, those hobbies and interests make such a big difference. So add them on your resume, keep them non-political unless you know the company you're applying for leans a certain way. And you'll see this on my own personal LinkedIn profile. It says fishing on the Pacific Ocean most weekends, right? So I try and differentiate from most headhunters out there who say they're the best at finding talent whisperer. Instead, I include one of my main hobbies. Tons of people, tons of clients really love to fish, and is a small number of people it may turn off, but for most of my target audience, it's an interesting hobby that they might be interested in talking to me about. So Definitely let your hobbies and interests shine through all the time. Have it on your resume and be willing to talk about it as well. If you want more tips and tricks on how to get a better job, how to network and build your career, follow, subscribe below, or watch this video.